have you in the studio this morning. You're welcome.
Same here. Very good morning to you.
Okay, so we're talking to the children today, not just the children, to adults as well, and we are looking at the importance of diction. So first of all, for those who really do not understand what diction is, can you help us with the definition? What is diction?
Diction has two basic definitions. One, choice of words, and two, clarity of speech. I'll begin with choice of words. To a large extent, one's audience determines the choice of words to be used. Say, for example, I'm to write a letter to my boss. The choice of words I would use will be quite different from the choice of words I would use when writing a letter to a friend. Then, if I'm to speak before a formal audience, my choice of words would definitely be different from the choice of words I would use when speaking before an informal audience. Next is speech. First I mentioned choice of words, now we're talking about clarity of speech, and that will be our focus for today. How well are you heard and understood for effective communication? Here comes in social intelligibility, the ability to be heard and understood by anyone in any part of the world. Permit me to use two pair of words to illustrate what we mean by clarity of speech.
Okay.
First off, the words sit, S-I-T, and seat, S-E-A-T. Sit as a verb and seat as a noun. Some people mix up these words.
Okay.
You hear someone say, sit on the seats. And when you do, you're invariably saying chair on a chair. You're not clear. That's not clarity of speech.
Okay.
S-I-T has a short sound, A, sit. S-E-A-T has a long sound, seat. Sit, seats. So you'd say, sit on the seat, not seat on the seat. Yet another pair of words, the number 6 and cease. 6, number 6. After 5 comes 6, not cease. When you say cease, you're saying C-E-A-S-E, to stop something. So, for example, you say, 6 learners got here on Monday. Instead of saying 6 learners got here on Monday, you're saying 6 learners got here on Monday. You're saying stop learners got here on Monday. That's not clarity of speech.
Confusing.
And that will be our focus for today.
Wow. Well, you're in for something else. I mean, permit me to use the normal worry language.
Please go ahead.
It's sis. 5 sis, that's right pronunciation. Sometimes, most of the time, it's not actually sit. We know it as 6, but so many people will say sis, So I think that's what usually informs, their choice of words and how they speak. And that's why it's important for children to begin to learn these things from a young age so they can grow up with it and know that speaking correctly is actually a good thing. So now we're talking about speaking in the right diction. Yeah. What does that really entail? Like when we say, I want my child to speak in the right diction, what makes it different from the normal way people speak?
Thank you. First, I'll begin by saying what speaking in the right diction doesn't entail.
Okay.
It doesn't entail faking an accent, rolling one's tongue, speaking through the nose, sounding cosmetic, mechanical, unnatural. No. Instead, it entails speaking right, clarity of speech, being understood, pronouncing one's words correctly, pronouncing words in detail. It's because of some people sounding mechanical, cosmetic, or natural, you hear parents say, I do not want my child to speak right. I do not want the spring, like it said.
Spring speaking.
The sing-song pattern. You hear a child say, I want to go there. That's not what we're talking
parents
about.
don't want that.
Clarity of speech, pronouncing one's words correctly, and pronouncing words to detail.
Okay, so your parents out there and you're wondering, anytime my child comes to me and say, Mom, I want to eat some food. You feel like the child is trying to fake an accent or trying to, speak, in a way that it's not normal, that's not right, and you don't want that. So you feel like, speaking in the right diction entails all of that. So you've been told right now that that's not what speaking in the right diction is. Your ability to pronounce words correctly, say it as it should be said, not as people say it. These are what speaking in the right diction entails. And it's important that you let your child learn how to speak. I feel really disgusted that sometimes when I hear kids speak and the way they are rapping the speech, I'm like, you guys okay?
Sounding so natural.
No. That's not it. That's not it. You're trying to be like someone else, and that's not what speaking right is all about. I mean, you should be able to know when you are being fake and when you are speaking right. And I am more of you speaking right and not trying to be like someone. You see, in the sentence, you're mixing both British accent and American accent in one sentence, and you're, where are you going to? So that is not what speaking right means. Your child can still talk normally without having to fake an accent, and that's exactly what we are talking about today. Now, like you rightly said, some parents don't want their kids to be in that kind of sing-song pattern and stuff. So how can we now, how can we now teach those children, how to speak in the right, diction, and how does it now translate to effective communication? How can they imbibe this?
Okay. First off, they should have individuals who are grounded in it. Not just anyone who goes there and teach them the sing-song pattern. Good and fine, at that initial stage, they're likely to want to adapt the sing-song pattern, but there comes a time you dish that out. The goal is for clarity of speech. I would mention clarity of speech severally in this conversation because that's the goal. The ability to be heard and understood in any part of the word. Okay. Not mixing one's words with native accents per se. Mm-hmm. For example, I want to say, let's say my name is Blessing, and I want to say I am Blessing. I say I am Blessing. That's a mother tongue interference. Yeah. Trying as much as possible to eliminate such, getting someone who's good at that. Let them read, let them watch movies in English, and by so doing, they get to master speaking right.
Okay, so what about being taught in school as well? I mean, I know there's some schools right now that are now beginning to see the importance of teaching phonetics and, speech teaching in schools. Before it wasn't that way. So, I mean, can they also learn this at school?
Definitely. Schools now are accepting this. It's now becoming a norm in schools, getting diction teachers, getting diction instructors. However, I would like to say it shouldn't be a one-day affair. For diction to be effective in schools, the teachers should be trained and they should be willing to learn too. Okay. I've gone to schools where teachers, they are not willing to learn. No matter what you teach them, it becomes a challenge. So the teachers should be ready to learn, and they should learn, because a diction instructor goes to school like twice or even once in a week, some of us thrice as the case may be. What happens when he or she leaves? The learners, the children, they get to stay with their classroom teachers, with their subject teachers, and most times they go back to speaking flatly. And that's where the challenge comes in. A couple of diction instructors are doing what they need to do. But the challenge is our background, the environment, the teachers, our parents. So we all need to work together. We shouldn't be quick to say that diction instructors are not doing what they're supposed to do. While some may not be doing it, a couple of others are doing so. As parents, as teachers, as school heads, let's play our part. So for diction to be effective in schools, teachers should be taught to speak right. And then the diction teacher comes in and every other teacher complements what he or she is doing.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, you're listening to Rise 106.7 FM. It's the Rise Kids Club, and TNK is here. And I also have my guest with me as well, Ketura Oyibo, doing a great job giving us the importance of diction, using it as a means of communication, especially for learners, for kids, for children. Why is it important for them to imbibe this culture while they are still young? And for parents, you need to also encourage your children to speak right. Not when they've gone through school and they've taught them all the whole diction and then they go back home. Emmanuel, what you doing? Come. You know, you are not helping that child. It's like they hear one thing with the right ear and then they go home and they hear something else from the left ear. And, you know, they're quick to copy you as a parent. They're quick to copy you, what you do, what you say, how you say it, how you behave. So whatever you teach them at home, they take it seriously than what you're even taught in school. So you also have a role to play, making sure that whatever they're being taught at school, you know, they practice it even when they get home. So you also need to learn it as a parent, all right, because you're also an instructor to that child. At some point, I'll open up the phone line so you can also call in and let us know your questions. What are those things bothering you as regards this particular topic, diction? What are the challenges you're facing with this? And also, you're confused about something, you know, or you feel like, no, it's not a Nigerian thing. Instead of teaching diction, why not to teach your children how to speak their local language? All of them, all join. But then again, if you have questions, I'll open up the phone line so you can also call in and let us know what your questions are. We are also streaming live on Facebook, facebook.com/Rise FM Radio. Do want to go there, watch the video, drop a comment, ask a question, and we'll also be taking it live on the program as well. All right, we're talking about diction and how it's important for children to learn how to speak right at a tender age so they can use it for effective communication. Now, we know that you can force a horse to the river, but you can't force it to drink water. Now, some kids would say, oh, yeah, well, it's just a normal subject at school and stuff. But then again, sometimes it becomes a Herculean task when you're trying to teach these kids how to speak, but somehow they are not comprehending it. They're not getting it right. I mean, at that point, how would you test your patience in making sure that, yes, you want to be patient with this child to make sure that at the end of the day, he gets it right?
Okay.
It's kids who are slow in learning, yeah.
Yes, it can be frustrating, to be honest. Having such learners who are very slow. In some cases, some are not even willing to learn. And the willingness has to come. Imagine telling a child, I want you to speak this way. As starters, begin your sentences with rises. That child, let's not even go there. The intonation, when initiating greeting, you greet with a rise. Good morning, as though you were asking a question, because at the end of the day, whoever has to respond, someone is responding to you. So it's as though you were asking a question because you were expecting a reply. After telling this child, this learner, say good morning when you're the one initiating the greeting, same child comes to you, good morning, ma. Good afternoon, ma. Good evening, ma. You tell the child, I told you some hours ago, a day ago, it's good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Some just want to test your patience as it's were. Well, you keep correcting them and you ask other teachers to help you. When everyone joins hands together, even parents, they do so, it becomes much easier. So you are not there. The teachers there, do they encourage the learners? And at times, it's a case of not being conscious because of the environment. Most times, it's a case of not being conscious, not like they do not, or they are not willing to learn. They forget. When you draw their attention to it, most begin to speak right. I see a learner come to me. He or she is speaking flatly. I say, no, you must speak right. He or she quickly changes. So they are not conscious. When everyone contributes, everyone encourages them to speak right, then it will be easier because the environment plays so much in this.
All right, talking about the environment, I mean, it's just like, let me give this example now. You go to the US, for example, and because you know that the way you speak back home is not the way they speak here, so you just want to fake it till you make it. You want to speak like them, to be like you belong, that kind of stuff. But then that's for those kind of people. But then you want to make an intention to speak right. Okay, let me give this example. I was at the market one day and I went to buy some stuff and I saw this young girl, right, pretty girl, and she came to her mom's shop. And I noticed the way she was speaking. And then she was speaking well. I was very, very impressed. She was speaking well. And at some point, she just switched back to the normal way of speaking. And I'm like, okay, okay. So, because she was talking to her mom, and the mom was responding in a normal way.
Oh.
So she was trying to, speak the way she's been taught, maybe from school or from wherever. Speak the way she's been taught as a way of practicing. But the way the mom was responding, she couldn't keep up anymore.
She quickly switched.
She quickly switched. I'm like, okay, so it could be that this girl was trying to, do some practice, but somehow she wasn't getting the right, feedback and stuff. So she just had to just blend and just, that's a challenge there. So, let us in on some of the challenges you face as a diction coach. I'm sure you must have taught people who, you're teaching the same thing over and over, and it's like they're not getting it because they go back home, they hear something else, they go another place, they hear something else, and, it's back to status quo, So, what are some of the challenges, you face as a diction coach? And also, teaching learners, because we are basing now on learners. Teaching learners, what are some of the challenges you face with these young chaps?
For one, perception of the environment.
Okay.
And that's because of how some diction instructors, they sound, the sing-song pattern. I hear people oftentimes say they're not interested in speaking rights. I would like to relate a case scenario. Someone reached out to me that she wants to learn how to become a good communicator, how to master the art of public speaking, and effective presentation skills. But she said, I do not want to speak. I do not want that.
Okay.
I said, fine. Would focus on your sounds, you mastering public speaking, effective presentation skills. So we had our first session, the second, the third, and at a time, she came to me and she said she was interested in speaking rights.
Okay.
I asked her why. She said it's because I do not use the sing-song pattern.
Oh, okay.
But that's what she is against.
Okay.
So if we're able to correct the notion that speaking rights, remember I started with what it doesn't entail. It was deliberate. It's not faking an accent. It's not speaking through the nose. It's not rolling your tongue, pretending to be someone who you're not. Embrace who you are. However, master what should be mastered. Because at the end of the day, you want to speak in such a way that you're heard, you are understood. Imagine saying, sit on the seat, chair on the chair. Maybe you should leave this part of the world. You go tell someone, sit on the seat. He or she gazes at you and here she goes. What are you saying? Chair on the chair? No. So we need first to correct the impression about what speaking rights entails.
Okay.
Then we need to stop laughing at individuals who are trying to speak rights, who are speaking rights. It's a major challenge I've got with my learners. Why aren't you speaking rights? My classmates will laugh at me. My friends will tell me I'm pretending, I'm acting to be someone who I am not. And these are tender minds. At that stage, they were easily tossed here and there. So it's easy for them. I want to belong. Every child wants to belong. No child wants to be left out. So at the end of the day, why stress myself?
I'm not even stressing myself.
Let's forget about it. There's no point. So when you see someone trying to speak right, someone who's learning, especially for starters, it can be discouraging. When I started this journey, I started with some individuals and sad to say, so many stopped midway because of what people would say. At a point, I was discouraged because it got to a point when I say something, I would repeat, like I'm on a rewind system. Friends and family were like, are you okay?
What are you even saying?
I'll say something, I'll take it back, and yes, it was kind of annoying to them. And some began to give me facial expressions, glances. Some even told me to my very face. At a point, I stopped, to be honest. But I knew where I was going. So these are young minds. They may not really know they're wise. So all hands need to be on deck. So we don't discourage them. Imagine the example you gave earlier, that child. So the mom speaking flatly, well, why stress myself? There is no point.
Wow, these are challenges, and for everything you want to do right, there are challenges that will come. But then your ability to still push through, even in the midst of those challenges, shows that you're really determined in getting that thing you want to get. And that's what I want to encourage parents right now. Yes, you're listening to us and you're wondering, I beg, who speech, who diction,
English,
I beg, who English, I beg, now my one job. Yes, it's normal to say those things because of the environment we are and, where we find ourselves. But hey, you never can tell who that child will grow up to be tomorrow. And, they say catch them young. This is the only time you can teach them whatever you want to teach them. Because by the time they're now grown, they have their mind of their own. They can make their own decisions and stuff. But then if you imbibe this culture in them, it will help them as they grow. And as they grow, they stick to this culture because that's what they grew up with. And it becomes a culture for them. It becomes a norm for them. So would you rather have your child speaking in the right way, or you would have your child speaking in a vulgar manner, ras manner, and, to use okay? So which one would it rather be for you? All right, I open up the phone lines right now so you can call in case you have questions you want to ask. Our Diction coach is still here. Katura Oyibo is still in the studio. You might want to ask her questions. Maybe you have experiences with your children, with your, maybe with your teachers or whatever, or you just want to be sure about something. Feel free to call in right now and ask your questions. So the number to call is 07056651067. That again is 07056651067. Or you can send a text message to the same number as well, and we'll be here to hear from you. Children, I hope you listen as well, because you're also the focal point here and you are part of this as well. So if you want to ask questions too, you can feel free to call into the studio lines and let's hear your questions. Maybe you've been in this shoe, you've been speaking right and you've got people laughing at you. For my eyes, sorry for you. What are you think you're in London, Abby? You're in Nigeria, my dear. Open your eyes. If you have people talking to you like that, let us know what they're saying, and I will encourage you. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
I have a question to ask.
Okay, what's your name first, darling? What's your name?
Favor.
Favor. All right, Favor, go ahead.
I want to ask why the teachers of secondary school senators.
I didn't get that. Can you ask it again?
Why the teachers don't teach secondary school senators?
Okay. Are you in secondary school? Senior secondary school or junior? Are you in junior or senior?
Junior.
Junior. Okay. So she will answer you now, okay?
Okay.
All right, darling. So Favor is asking, why do teachers not teach secondary school phonetics? Why is it mostly primary school and, nursery and stuff?
Secondary learners.
Is it how it is?
Unless she meant phonics.
Okay.
Phonics.
Okay.
Usually for phonics, we teach the learners in nursery school.
Okay.
However, not all private schools are into it. So it could be, if she's a learner in one of the private schools, maybe they are yet to have a diction instructor.
Okay.
Then government schools are not into it. But the Association of Diction Coaches of Nigeria, the Delta State chapter, is making moves to introduce this in government schools. So it could be she attends a government school, or maybe the private school she attends
not yet. Okay, so Favor, if you're listening right now, maybe your school hasn't yet introduced, diction or phonetics. Is it phonetics now or diction or speaking rights, whatever, in your school? But hopefully that will be introduced soon, alright? Just keep your fingers crossed. Maybe you could ask your teachers as well. Maybe they can help you know why that has not been taught in your school. But then overall, I think it's being taught in some of the private schools around town. All right, 07056 651067. 07056 651067. Katura, just for clarity's sake, I mean, when you talk about phonetics, it's different from diction.
I meant phonics.
Okay,
it's
phonics.
quite different from diction.
Okay.
I get individuals reach out to me and they say, I'm interested in learning phonics.
Okay.
I'm interested in learning diction. What I do first, I ask, are you interested in learning phonics or diction? Phonics has to do with teaching individuals sounds, blending these sounds together to read and write. Okay. We've got different types of phonics, jolly phonics, letterland phonics, and so on. But diction has to do with speaking right.
Right.
So there is a difference.
All right. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, my love. How are you?
My name is Miracle.
Miracle, how are you today?
Fine.
All right, darling. Go ahead and ask your question.
What I say question is speech and phonetics.
Is what?
Is speech sound the same with phonetics?
Speech sounds the same with phonetics.
Thank you so much for that question. And
okay, we'll answer you now, okay?
Under phonetics, speech sounds are treated.
Okay.
Some teachers, some diction teachers will go with speech transformation. Some will go with diction. Some would simply go with speech.
Okay.
So it all depends on how you want to call it. However, speech sounds are treated under diction.
Okay. Speech sounds are treated under diction. Interesting. I'm also learning though. Today is my learning class. But then again, you can feel free to call, you can drop a comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Rise FM Radio. To all our Facebook viewers, we say thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. If you've got questions as well, do want to drop a question in the comment section, and we will be here to take them live as well. 07056651067. That again is 07056651067. Let us know your questions and how we can be of help to you. Well, let me ask now this question. Does speaking right eventually lead to having confident and eloquent learners in the society? I mean, does it really help with your presentation skills, and also choosing your future career? Before you answer that, let's take this call. Hello. All right. I missed that. Do you want to call back? 07056651067. Hello. 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 All right. Do you want to call back? So back to you.
A big yes to both questions. I'll begin with the very first one. If speaking right eventually leads learners to become confident and eloquent speakers, I'd like to explain this in two core areas.
Okay.
For one, learners who are taught to speak right are taught the sounds of English, and they are taught the vowel sounds. One might be wondering, what is the relationship between teaching a child how to speak right or the sounds of English? How does it translate to having a confident and an eloquent learner? I like to describe the vowel sounds as sounds of emotions. Not how I said it, emotions. So with it, you're able to express your thoughts. You're able to add life to your speech. You're not just speaking and you're just uttering the statements. For your sounds, your vowel sounds, especially your diphthongs, you're gliding. You're moving from one sound to the other. So you're better able to express your thoughts better. It makes you add life to your speech. And learners are taught how to do this. And it eventually translates to having confidence and eloquent speakers. Then again, when they're taught how to speak right, they delve into public speaking. And one thing they are told or they are taught is to avoid vocal fillers. What are vocal fillers? These are expressions, words, such as really, and so on.
We do that a lot.
Yes. So they are taught how to avoid this. And one way I go about it is what I call the PTT method. Pause, think, talk. So when you're tempted to go and in this part of the world, in our local parlance, I would say shebi. Eh. So instead of saying shebi, why not pause for some seconds so it's not annoying? There's a way you pause, it becomes annoying and so obvious. And it has its advantages. It lets your listeners digest what you're saying and you quickly recollect your thoughts. So there are thoughts all of this, and subsequently, as they are in it, they are consistent. Consistency is key. They get transformed into confident and eloquent speakers.
Okay.
Then, for their future careers, yes, it helps a great deal. I would like to read something I read in an article. Dynamic and well-prepared speakers are highly valued by employers, and having this skill sets can even help land you leadership positions and important roles.
Wow.
This is so true. Aside the certificates, which of course are important, whoever is employing you wants to know how well you will be able to deliver when called for public speaking events, when called to present. How well can you speak? I once painted to a scenario, a case scenario, two individuals, two persons working in an institution. One who's been there for say 5, 6, 7 years. She's been there for a very long time. She's good at what she does. She's not found wanting, but whenever a meeting is called upon, and the owner of their institution is always not around, so here she's around during meetings. This individual hardly says something. When she's called upon, what do you have to say? All points considered are okay. All points said are fine. I'm following. But here comes another person. She's just there for a year or so. She always has something to contribute. When called upon to present, she gives value. Between these two persons, of course, whoever sees them would want to go. It's not to say the first person is not good, but as humans, we judge based on the book, what we see. So this is one way you give a first good impression. Be it you want to be a medical doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, an educator, you need to master effective communication. The word is effective. It's key. When effective communication has not taken place, their communication hasn't taken place at all.
Wow. When effective communication has not taken place, that communication has not taken place at all. Ketura, you're doing a great job. Thank you so much. Let's take this call. Hello. 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 I have picked your call, Lou. Who's talking? Okay, all these children, we're playing with your mommy's phone. Alright, I think we have a message here. Let's see what it says. My name is Righteous. I want to ask you if I can still learn diction at the age of 18.
Definitely. A big yes to that.
Okay.
There are adults who are over 30, 40 who are learning to speak.
Alright, so you heard Righteous. I wanted to know that yes, it's still possible. In fact, you're not even late at all. Just 18, you can learn diction. Alright, so just reach out to us here. We'll let you know how you can, contact Ketura and see how she can be of help to you in your diction course. 07056651067. That again is 07056651067. Call us up. Let's hear your question, or even if you have a contribution, you have an opinion about this particular topic, let us know as well. Or you can send a text message to the same number as well, 07056651067. Hello, good morning. Okay, feel free to call back. 07056651067. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
All right, what's your name?
Hello?
What's your name?
Hello?
What is your name? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I said,
Hello?
okay, what is your name?
Mm-hmm. Hello?
All right, go ahead and ask your question. Go ahead.
The network is disturbing.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so what's your question?
Yeah.
Hello? You want to ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't understand you quickly. Okay, so before we wrap up, we have just a few minutes to go now. I mean, how can parents now ensure that your children speak in the right diction?
There are a couple of ways to do so. First, let them watch movies, even cartoons in English. I remember when I heard my son say the words camouflage for the first time.
Wow.
I was taken aback. Prior to then, I would say camouflage. You see why I would say the way a word is spelled is no guide to its pronunciation. In English, words are spelled using letters but pronounced using sounds. So the young man came and he said camouflage. Quickly, I checked my dictionary and I gave him a thumbs up. How did he get to hear that when even his mommy, prior to then,
I've been calling it wrongly.
he learns it from watching cartoons in English.
Okay.
So I recommend allowing your kids, of course, under supervision, to watch movies.
Okay.
I usually recommend British movies, cartoons in British accents. Then do not discourage them. Encourage them at every point of the way, especially as starters. When they come with that same song pattern, it can be annoying, but let them be. All you need to encourage them to try to stop the sing-song pattern. Then you could speak to their diction coaches, instructors to their school, so they get to overcome such. Then discourage them from speaking pidgin. Pidgin is a flat language.
It's very hard, though. Especially in this world. You see, when the parents will be speaking the pidgin to the children, and you'll be wondering, I mean, why am I now taking them to school if, they're now, I'm still the one giving them this language? Yeah.
Even if you cannot speak right, do not
encourage
them to speak pidgin, and also do not speak pidgin maybe with your spouse in their presence. And they shouldn't speak pidgin. Like I said, pidgin is a flat language. So when they want to switch, it becomes a struggle. I struggled so much with that for a long time. I would go to my speech academy. I was taught how to speak right. Worry babes.
And then you hear something else, you'll be like, which kind of I love you this?
Worry babes. Oh, and I'm going to speak pidgin.
Yeah.
When I return, my speech coach will tell me, you spoke pidgin. And I'm like, how did you know? It tells.
Yeah.
So when I eliminated that, it helps to a large extent. So that should be discouraged.
All right, you heard that. That should be discouraged. That should be discouraged. If you're the type that usually speaks pidgin to your kids, you're watching, you're listening, that should be discouraged. Because, I mean, you don't know what you're doing to that child. Especially when they're trying to speak right. Even if you know sabi, let me come down to your language. Even if you know sabi, allow them to speak well. I think it will be a prestige when they go for presentations and you're like, who are these boys' parents? And you'll be like, yes, we're here. It'll be a prestige for you. So allow them to speak right and help them, encourage them. Like you have rightly heard, I mean, make them watch movies that will encourage them to speak right. Cartoons as well, read books for them. Or if you're not really good at it, you can get a diction coach for your kids, or you can, make sure that in your school they're being taught this thing so they can be part of them. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
My name is Leslie.
Godson. All right. Good to have you.
How are we to stop speaking pidgin?
Godson, do you speak pidgin often?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna tell you how you can stop it and now begin to speak right, okay?
Okay.
All right, darling. Thank you for calling. Okay, I think we'll wrap up with this question. For those in Godson's shoes who have been born with pidgin, pidgin is in their vocal cords, even if they try to change or speak, how can they now fight that and begin to speak right?
What a nice question. I love it. First off, you need to be conscious. Oftentimes, it's a case of not being conscious. It just comes.
Mm.
And you begin to beat yourself over it. But I told myself I wasn't going to speak pidgin. So you've got to be conscious. And you can go about it by telling those around you, you plead with them not to speak pidgin. Because when you hear someone speaking pidgin, you're tempted to want to speak
to
it.
join them, yeah.
For starters, it's compulsory. Do not speak pidgin.
Mm.
There comes a time you may want to if it really becomes necessary. Because I'm an advocate for speaking the language my audience understands.
Mm.
It makes no sense I'm speaking this to someone who doesn't understand it. At the end of the day, communication hasn't taken place.
True, that's true.
But as starters, ensure you do not speak pidgin. So you could speak to those around you, not to. One might say at this point, but you're telling me not to speak pidgin. How do I converse? You just said communication hasn't taken place when I do not speak the language of my audience.
Yeah.
You're contradicting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's something I was doing back then.
Mm-hmm.
I would just I'll just use words. I wouldn't converse with you using sentences. So, for example, I go to the market, I meet the fish seller, and I want to get fish. How much? He or she says 1,000 naira. I say 500 naira. I would not say, sell for me like this, all of that, because I do not want to speak pidgin, and I do not want to sound so high and mighty.
Mm.
So I just use words. So if you come across such individuals, you can use words.
Mm.
So speak to those around you. That's basically it. Not to speak pidgin. So you're not tempted to want to speak in pidgin. Then when you are in an environment where you cannot tell people not to speak pidgin, just reply them using words.
And nobody will kill you for that. Somebody will spank your head or tell you, talk when now. It's your own decision. So for Godson and for everyone who is in that shoe, you're tied up with pidgin around you. I mean, when you speak and you can understand what you're saying in pidgin, try replying in English. That will also help you. Okay, in normal English, that will also help you to curb that pidgin speaking attitude. All right, Gata, did you hear that? Thank you so much to you and, of course, to everyone who has called in on the program today. That's the much we can take. Wow, my guest has done a great job. Ketura, I must really say thank you so much as well. It's been a pleasure having you in the studio today. And also for teaching the children. At least you've heard they've learned so much today and you're willing to do what is right. Speaking well, it's not accent, okay? Speaking the right diction is important, especially as kids. Teach them now that they're young. So when they grow up, they grow with that attitude and that, right speaking attitude, and also be a well-placed person in the society. I want to encourage you as parents, make sure you don't speak the wrong English or pidgin to your kids. We are not advocating that. Okay, speak right to them and to help them as they grow. All right, we hope to have more of these conversations on the Rise Kids Club. Make sure you do well to join us all the time, Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 12 noon on the Rise Kids Club. And also, you want to be a sponsor on the program as well, do well to reach out to us, 091 28784237 is number to call. And also, you can visit us here at our office, number 5 Western Link Road of the NPA Expressway, Warri, Delta State. All right, to those viewing on Facebook, thank you so much for your for watching. We do hope that next week Saturday you also join us on the Rise Kids Club. Myself, and I, Auntie NK, am saying bye for now, and make sure you enjoy the rest of the programs here on Rise FM Radio. Just stay tuned and happy Saturday.